Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
God damn it, will someone answer the effing phone, please? Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and eventually, this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, March 17th. Oh my God, we're over almost a third of the way into, actually a quarter of the way into the year. And where are we at? Well, waiting for me to get things started. I know we're late. My back's been killing me, and it's just one of those days. But you know what? Let's be happy. We've got a show. There's not a lot to talk about, but we're going to have a fun time getting there. Just ask Mulder and Scully on that note. Go ahead and welcome in. Let's go ahead and take a look and see who the heck we have in the chat right now. We got a great audience out there today because, trust me, I've been talking with the ladies of Disclosure Tonight. Let's see who we have out there. We have $70 Million Man X. Amiga Rules is here along with Anne Marie. Azrael's here along with Azrael. Remember the Smurfs? All I can think of. Sorry, I mentioned Azrael. Sorry, Azrael. I'm sure you got that a lot, but blue. It's the new red. Let's welcome in April R. Coleman. Good to see you, April, along with BW Broom. Yes, my ex-wife, Maria. She loved to drive that vehicle, the BW Broom. Doors easily in the closet. Let's welcome in Brian Morgan, Charles Kerr. The Charles Kerr is here along with Charmanian, also known as Teresa. Good to see you, Charmania. You're Teresa. CR's here along with CT Whale. Daryl's here along with Diva Kim, Dolly Farton, and Ed Brown. Dolly, sorry, that's almost sacrilege saying that, but you know what? Let's move on. We've got Ed Brown here, of course. Phantomos Phantos here along with Fernando Suazo. Good to see you, Fernando. That's such a sexy name. Got to say that one. Firefly is here along with Geraldine and Gizmo. We got Gringo and Gundamson. Yep. Have fun with that one. Jay Palm's here along with Jan and Jay Cat and John Mooner, Johnny UFO and Kathy and King Bull and Kelly Barot and those piercing blue eyes. How do I know? I talked to her earlier. Where'd you go, Kelly? We miss you. Maria's here. Well, Maria Dolores, just to be clear, is here. Good to see you, that Maria. Our time unprepared along with Megan Betts. We've got Michael Wong and Mick. Good to see you, Mick. I guess you're behaving these days. That's wonderful. Along with Mr. Grimlock, Nightshade, Giggle is here, along with our very own Pitbull. That would be Niles' guy. Just look at his picture. It's Pitbull. You better believe it, my friend. Also, let's welcome in Omar Alia. Paul Damon, he has been freed. Paul Damon is freed. We got to welcome in Prism Film, Sam and Sander Jute, and Space Coast Flights. But wait, there's more. Yes, we have Super Unknown and Tia Marie and Tom Clark and Twiggy's here. 2Ed666 and our most inventive person in the chat, Two Midgets on a Horse. Would you be willing to change that horse for an elephant? I think it could be a great upgrade. Let's welcome an Uber holder, Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. Good to see you. And Zach Huff, 1993. How about that, my friends? How about that? But you know what that goes. We have to welcome in our regular chat. Now we get to go ahead and welcome in our friends in the back of the chat and who have called in on viewer call-in. Let's see who we have there. Well, our first person is coming to us all the way from the great state of Florida. Alice W., how are you?
Hi, Thomas. I'm doing great. Looking forward to the show tonight. I was wondering, where do you get your ideas for the show? How do you decide what you're going to do?
I've got a big mystery wheel that I take all the topics of the day and I spin it.
Like Vegas.
Yeah, I know. I need to get the giant mystery wheel that I can roll in and spin the wheel and see where it lands at the wheel of disclosure. But yeah, well,
that's a good idea.
Exactly. Well, thank you for coming in today, Alice. Our next friend's coming to us all the way from the great state of Colorado. Ashes, how the hell are you?
I got a surprise for you guys. I'm wearing my fancy hat today, and I'm just so excited to be here.
And the audience can't even see it. Now they can. You're a frickin' jester. Holy cow.
Well, that's how I feel it's going on with Disclosure right now. We don't know, do we?
It's like we're playing Joker's Wild, and we're pulling the big wheel with Chuck Berry, and we're saying, Joker, Joker, Joker. Yeah, I know, because we're not sure where the hell it's going to go, are we? Actually, it feels more like the Gong Show these days than it does like Disclosure.
Hey, well, at least I got my green on for St. Patty's Day, so maybe it'll bring us some luck.
I've got some green pants on here, but I'm not going to stand up and show it to you, but I do.
The next hearing I hear ain't till the 26th, so fingers crossed we do a good job with that,
80,000 pages of documents to talk about at that one, Ashes. I think they're going to have to take these things, upload them to ChatGPT, and figure out where and what we've got for an answer.
Let's see what we got tonight, because I'm ready. I'm locked and loaded. Thank you.
Oh, and we have another friend who's locked and loaded, because why? He's a Hoosier. If he's not locked and loaded, they're not going to win. Daryl, how the hell are you?
Doing great. Happy St. Patrick's Day from the home of the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame, Indiana.
There you go. You know what? The Aurora came out. The Aurora Borealis actually came out the other day, and an amazing Let me make sure I just go ahead down here and turn off the audio on this one. Some amazing images that came out of the Aurora. You can't get more green than that, can you, my friend?
No, that's awesome.
Oh,
that's
gosh,
really
yeah.
cool.
This is just some amazing. There's been an amazing Aurora Borealis. It's amazing what happens when the magnetic field on the Earth starts to go limp. It's something like this. Let's go ahead and welcome in, coming to us from the great state of Texas, Ed Brown. How are you, my friend? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm doing pretty good, Thomas. So happy St. Patrick's Day to you. I guess you and I didn't get the message. It was green instead of blue. But I'll tell you what, every time you open the show and Ashley comes on and has the bubbly sound that she had coming out today, all I can say is pass me one of those pills or whatever you're drinking, because it looks like she's having a pretty good time.
I can pass you this, but I don't think you're going to be able to catch it. It's too far away.
Oh, and there's a piece of bad news that goes along with this, too. I hate to spoil the mood. That shifting magnetic field you're talking about?
Oh, yeah?
The beginning of the end. As the magnetic field collapses and we all burn up.
Oh, that goes on many times. It's the rebirth, not the end.
Well, that's true.
You know, there are certain times in the ancient past where humanity went underground, went into the bedrock, and there was a reason for that. It's not that it wasn't unsafe on the surface of the planet from other humans or megafauna out there. It's because the sun was doing what the sun likes to do.
Well, it's giving us a good indication right now. So hope it doesn't come in the next week or so, because I got a lot on my schedule to do between now and then.
No, you'll be fine. We got about 30 years, so it should be fine in your book.
No, good. I'm great.
Absolutely. Let's put our sights on Wisconsin, where we have Laura Campbell, our remote viewing targeter. How's it going, Laura?
Going great. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I would say it's a wonderful timing for the Kennedy family being Irish. And I hope everything goes well for that tomorrow. We're Mercury retrograde right now, so anything's possible.
Yes, and you are wearing green, so I don't have to reach out and pinch you.
No.
Thank you for coming out today.
Thank
Let's
you.
go ahead and put our sights on Canada, where there could be Irish people up in Canada. You never know. But let's welcome our dear friend from the province where all the users are silent, Michael Sokoloff. How are you?
Doing good, Thomas. All the Irish are at the bar drinking green beer right now.
Sounds like a wonderful idea.
Yeah,
Sign
they
me
put
up.
that food coloring in the beer so it can be really Irish.
I guess I do have green food coloring upstairs. Granted, I use the red stuff for the hummingbird food, although I don't need to. I guess I could go make a green drink. I may have, well, if I do make a green drink, you won't be able to see it. It'll be invisible because I have a green screen.
Hey, there you go. Invisible water.
Sounds like I could call it holy water for that matter. On our next line, let's go ahead and welcome in our dear friend coming from the great state of Massachusetts, Sergeant Daniel. USMC, how's it going, Daniel?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here, my friend. And let's round it up with our dear friend, Tia Marie in the great state of New York. Did you wear green today, Tia?
Yes, I do. I got green pants on like you do.
Very nice. Great to have you here, my dear lady. And putting our sights back
Thank
on,
you.
well, you know, Mike, Disclosure, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, Thomas. It's St. Patrick's Day for our live audience. We have a lot to cover that's going to be interesting. It should be a fun show for everybody. I'm looking forward to it, my friend.
Yes. So am I.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my lower back is saying hello. It's one of those days. I know I've got a bunch of things we're going to talk about. Hopefully, we'll hit all of them today. Let's go ahead and lead with the big topic of the day. I know we can talk about that 60 minutes, more like 6 minutes or 12-minute section talking about the drones. We'll get that into a little bit. This is something that is important because what happens, Mike, with the disclosure of the Kennedy documents, right?
Yeah.
May set the pace or the tone for what we get out of the federal government coming from the UFO disclosure.
That's true. Hopefully that's the case, but that still remains to be seen. I guess we'll see what comes out with those documents tomorrow.
Yes, because you know what? Trump is set to release 80,000 JFK files unredacted. President Donald Trump has announced the release of approximately 80,000 pages of documents related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Trump made to increase transparency. The move has been anticipated for decades, offering potential new insights into one of the most investigative events in U.S. history. Mike, we got to ask the question, what do you think the odds are that the CIA is going to be coming up as one of the main perps in those who took out JFK?
Well, that has been suspected for a very long time, going back to the early 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get any actual evidence of that, I think what would hinge on us actually seeing something like that would have to be on John Radcliffe, who's now running the CIA, if he'd allow that to come out publicly or not.
Well,
we'll have to see.
It seems to me that John is a good soldier, and he follows along with what his leadership and the person who appointed him to the position, Donald Trump, would want to have. So it sounds like if Trump wants the truth out on this,
we'll get it.
I think we're going to get it.
And if he doesn't, like with the drones, then we may not get it. So he'll go either way. Like I
now,
said.
Taking on to this, if this is what we could potentially get with the JFK files, maybe we could get a big dump, relatively speaking, not on a platter, but that we could get a big dump from the federal government on UFO disclosure coming from the Trump administration. While I know the man who architected the term Orange Man Bad, named as Matt Ford for that matter, he's proud of that one, I tell you, has been railing on the Trump administration lately when he could have been railing against the Biden administration for the last 4 years, but he didn't. He has been coming down hard on the current administration. It's not like they have not been busy and calling it out, but I think potentially Matt's face could be red, if not orange, if we get a similar level of declassification coming out of the federal government for UAP.
Well, it's obvious that he is partisan with his politics. Unlike us, who are not on one side of the aisle or the other, we cover everything equally. So he lets that cloud his judgment, I think, and get in the way. Whereas, as far as disclosure is concerned, it shouldn't be about party politics. It should be about truth and transparency.
Well, they say that disclosure is one of the largest, if you want to call it bipartisan, efforts that has been going on in Washington, D.C. Can't say that recently because it seems a bit more partisan than it's been in the past. But you know what?
Yeah.
I have a good feeling, Mike, that we're going to be heading into the golden age. You know, that's actually a good title card. Are we heading into the golden age of disclosure? And we may be doing it. I know everybody has got their freaking panties in a twist. They all want disclosure, and they want it now. It sounds like one of those commercials they have for attorneys on TV, for people who want to get their money and they want to get it now. But the truth of the matter is we may have to wait a little bit. And if we do, there's a dang good chance, being patient, we may get what we've been looking for the longest time.
Well, after 8 decades or so of waiting, a little while longer isn't going to kill us.
No, but everyone is like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. This has never happened before. Why aren't we getting the information? And we want it now. You know what I mean? They're throwing freaking temper tantrums.
Yeah, but again, we know how politically divided the country has been. So part of that starts to kick in, like with Matt Ford, for instance. But we'll see. This is all going to hinge upon whatever we actually get publicly from this administration. Yeah. Hopefully, it's stuff we've been looking for a very long time.
And if we have someone in office who wants to go ahead and dethrone the deep state, Mike, I can't see a better location to say when the deep state, not just the swamp, but the sewer in D.C., had started. And it all really started around UFOs. Late 40s, early 50s, didn't it?
Yeah, well, here's the good news, the way that I see it. A lot of people in politics, especially at the level of Donald Trump currently, usually have issues that they try to skate around because they don't want to be directly impacted by any of the shenanigans that sometimes goes on from the deep state. I have a feeling that everything that Donald Trump has had to deal with so far has kind of made him politically bulletproof at this point. What are they going to do? Threaten to impeach him? Been there, done that. Are they going to threaten to charge him with crimes? Been there, done that. Are they going to convict him in court and try to throw him in jail? Been there, done that. I think they don't have leverage over him the way that they thought they did. And because of that, I think the public as a whole may actually, in fact, get some true disclosure at this point, because there's really nothing preventing him from releasing the truth after everything he's been through. So we got a good shot.
Yeah. And I do have several shots of Trump going ahead and making a statement about this. I have to show one just for shits and giggles, my friend. Let me go ahead and find this one. Where am I going to? Video full guest. Here we go. All right, let's get over to this one. I have to make it a little bit larger, I guess. Okay, we've got this one we're going to watch. It's 1 minute and 32 long talking about it.
Oh, this is a good clip.
It's a good clip, but I have to show this one first. What happened? He looks so small.
Wow.
He looks like a midget at this point. What happened?
Like a Smurf with the new Smurf movie coming out.
I know, just everything, with everything that's there, it's like they shrunk. Who shrunk Trump? All right, let's get into the full clip on this one from C-SPAN. It's not to that degree, but, I just had to show it because, well, Mike, we are serious about not being serious, right?
Oh, we are. That's the show policy for a long time.
Now, before anyone on the left gets crazy, we have a clip for you.
Okay, these fuckers have fucked my life over.
Or more like, let's have some fun with this and get to it. Let's see what he has to say. Oh, Jesus Christ, about the documents.
We're here. I thought it would be
Here we go. Play it.
Appropriate. We are tomorrow announcing and giving all of the Kennedy files. So people have been waiting for decades for this, and I've instructed my people that are responsible, lots of different people, put together by Tulsi Gabbard, and that's going to be released tomorrow. We have a tremendous amount of paper. You've got a lot of reading. I don't believe we're going to redact anything. I said, just don't redact. You can't redact. But we're going to be releasing the JFK files, and that would be tomorrow. Do you have anything else to add to that, Carolyn? So that's a big announcement. They've been waiting for that for decades. Then I said during the campaign.
Now remember, actually, let's play out the rest of this. Here we go, and we'll talk about it.
And I do it, and I'm a man of my word. So tomorrow you have the JFK files. What time will they be released? Tomorrow afternoon. Okay.
Have you seen what's in the files? Have you read them?
I've heard about them.
Was there anything interesting?
It's going to be very interesting.
Was there an executive summary supplied to you, Mr. President?
No, I'm not doing summaries. You'll write your own summaries. It's many pages. Is it 80,000 pages? Approximately 80,000 pages. So it's a lot of stuff. And you'll make your own determination.
Yes, Dana Scully, Trump does have on his makeup really thick. Kind of looks like my ex-wife and her sister Sarah would have put it on. It's like bring out a frickin' paint roller and put it on nice and thick today. Mike, great conversation that, you know what, we're going to get the files. We're going to get the answers we've been looking for. You know what? Remember, was it more than, we're like 8 years ago, we had Mike Pompeo going to Donald Trump to say, do not bring this information out. It would cast us in a bad light. But you know what? If we had some of our spy agencies doing things that were wrong and getting our hands into areas that was wrong, what's the best way to get rid of a problem? Bring sunlight and put it on it versus covering it up and putting it in the closet, because nothing ever goes well in the closet.
Absolutely. What I found interesting about this clip is the reporter asked him if they had reviewed all of the files yet, and are they going to issue an executive summary?
No.
His answer was, no, you're going to do that. That tells me that they haven't reviewed any of this. He's just going to dump it out on the public and let us look for that needle in a haystack.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, the thing is, we're going to get the information. It's going to be unredacted. You know what? And they're not going to hold anything back from the public in considering, what is this, like 60, 70 years ago? 60 years ago?
Yeah. Yep.
It's, based on national security laws and declassification, this information should have came out a long time ago. Remember, when good old Slow Joe got his hands on this, he actually signed paperwork with his auto pen to go ahead and lock away this information in perpetuity, where a future president would never be asked again.
Right. They wanted to bury this so it never comes out.
So if this is the case with Kennedy, I know it's taking a bit longer, but this is a good sign of potentially the kind of document dump we could get out of the government with regards to UFOs.
Which I have a feeling, if that day comes, this 80,000 page dump that we're getting tomorrow, late in the afternoon sometime, I think if they did this with the UAP subject, it could be 100 times more documents.
Oh, if not more, Mike, if not more.
Yeah.
Because if we're going all the way back to the 1930s with the Magenta Italy UFO, the Bell, the Glock. I mean, if you look at honestly what the Italians talked about, what David Grush talked about, and that bell-shaped UFO, we had the Glock, which is from the Nazis, which was the same kind of a craft, wasn't it?
It looked identical to the way that David Grush had described it. Yeah.
Which,
So
if you
it wasn't
look
just
back
a
into
rumor.
history and the catalog of what's taken place, it's just like a holy shit moment of that. If we can start getting back into these old documents, start bringing it forward,
We may start to see a lot of what David Grush discovered behind the scenes for the first time publicly. And I have a feeling that it's going to confirm a lot of the rumors that have been out there in this field about the government's involvement for a very long time. And that's what people have been looking for. That's what we're waiting for. We want that. We want to know what's real, what isn't real, and where it's all currently at. And it seems that the approach that Trump is taking, and with the people in his cabinet, once they locate the actual documents and the information, I don't think they're going to be spending a lot of time reviewing it. They're probably just going to dump it out there, which is fine. That's what we want. Just if they don't want to do
Mike,
it, just give it to us. We'll do it.
Coming from Representative Anapolina Luna, she has said she has received official confirmation from the U.S. National Archives. When the White House releases the JFK files, they will be publicly available at the link below.
Oh, yeah. And we know now that, isn't it Marco Rubio who is running the National Archives right now?
I believe little Marco is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you remember when they did another dump through the National Archives, I think it was AARO, it was crashing. Documents were not released. They were heavily redacted. We didn't get everything they promised us. The National Archives seems at that time to be really dragging their feet. I don't think that'll be the case now that Marco is overseeing it. I think we might actually get to see the documents as they are when they come out. That would be a first.
Isn't that what Anapolina Luna talked about to everybody? Saying this is how her task force for the declassification of national secrets. My God, it sounds like a movie.
Oh, it does.
It does.
Sounds like we're living in a bad movie. That's right. No, you're absolutely right. No, the way she laid it out when they gave her the position as top dog on a task force, she said that the subjects that they're covering, the way they're going to be releasing it to the public is first, they're going to do a data dump with the documents that they have, and then they're going to do a public hearing after they release the
Yeah, but they're even
documents to the
talking
public.
about taking a whole freaking field trip down to go ahead and see where the actual assassination happened.
Who is?
Well, Anapolina Luna was talking about that weeks ago, Mike.
Going down to Daly Plaza in Texas?
Yeah.
Over
Did you
62 years from the time
did
that
you
this
not
happened?
get my memo on that one? Apparently not.
No, I did not. It's interesting. I to be honest with you, I don't know what the fuck she's going to find 62 years after the fact.
Well, it sounds like that was a date was given in jest for where they wanted to go, and she did talk about it. But it sounds like all the information is going to come out, irrespective of the field trip. That's completely unnecessary. Like putting raisins in potato salad, a completely unnecessary ingredient that's not going to take it. Who wants sweet potato salad with raisins, Mike? Would you ever have that?
Not if you put a gun to my head. I wouldn't have that.
Oh, exactly.
It would never happen. But that's like if they finally release all the documents for disclosure, and then somebody makes another asshole statement like that and said, oh, we're going to go down and stand in front of the gates of Area 51 now. Really? Why? The only thing that matters is whatever's in those documents and any information being released. You don't have to go stand anywhere in particular for that.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Absolutely. It's one of those things we may have to fire up the freaking live stream again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, depending on what comes out and the information that hits, because there could be a bunch of UFO disclosure stuff that comes out in those Kennedy files. Who knows what beyond the documents Kennedy was saying with regards to UFOs? We may get other insight from other agencies talking about what he was trying to do, and more importantly, Mike, what they were willing to do to shut him and others up.
Yeah, well, it was back during his administration. It was our military, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that were not on the same page as he was with what he was trying to accomplish. And there was a lot of pushback because of that. That probably will be included in some of these documents if they come out and they're accurate. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot that we can guess about. I want to see what comes out with these documents and what's actually in
and
there.
what we're talking about, Mike, is a bunch of documents that have been held up in limbo from the bureaucratic deep state. We're talking about this organization that's there within Washington, D.C., of all these career individuals who aren't elected by any particular party, who are there, and they think that they're in charge of this information, and they are clearly being told and shown the door if they don't want to play along, right?
Well, so far he's keeping his word about that. A lot of bureaucratic heads have been rolling in the news lately, so we'll see if that continues. I can tell you this: the connection that I see between the CIA, the Kennedy files, and Disclosure for UAP, CIA is all over this.
Oh, yeah.
They are involved with both subjects very heavily.
I mean,
So
let's be honest.
They tie together.
Let's be honest. The CIA is part of the cover-up, because when I had a report of someone coming in, like Lou Elizondo, walking around Langley, which is CIA headquarters land, and jumping flights out of that particular area, yeah, the CIA has their hands in a lot of dirty areas that potentially they may or may not should have their hands in, but they do, don't they, Mike?
They're all over it. We know about the Office of Global Access. We know about Glenn Gaffney from the Office of Science and Technology within the CIA that prevented Robert Bigelow and OSAP from having that craft transferred over. We know the CIA is heavily involved in all the activities that had gone on previously and go on currently till today. They're still involved. And we just received a super chat from Ashes on Air.
And as you said it, I clicked on it. Thank you for the first super chat for tonight. Ashes on Air. Ashley says, JFK wanted disclosure. Wouldn't it be the ultimate poetic justice for that to coincide with UAP? Well, yeah, but of course, it doesn't matter if it's a UFO, Ashley, or a UAP or whatever it is. Yes, to go ahead and bring that information out. I think that's what all of us have wanted forever, right, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. It would, not just the United States at that point, but if this information comes out and confirms any of this, it's a global event. It's world news because it affects everybody on the planet.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Exactly.
And just like the drones, if this information is corroborated and confirmed when it comes out, we'll be covering that.
We better believe it. Now, I have 4 people in the back we've been ignoring, Mike. We've got Ed, Daryl, T, and then Nick. Let's go through it.
Well, I don't even know where to start after all that discussion, other than I can tell you from experience and my age, I very much remember the JFK shooting when it occurred. And I've been to Daley Plaza many times, kind of in my backyard down here. So I can tell you the only reason that Luna would want to come down there would be for a press op. There's nothing you can see down there now that would anyway help an investigation.
No.
But, there was the rumor of the second shooter behind the fence on the grassy knoll. And it was some blowups of that have been floating the internet for quite a while. And I was thinking about when you and Mike were talking and the CIA was involved and the UFOs were involved, that could have just been a tall gray standing back there. Boy, that would have really tied this up now, wouldn't it? If the UFOs involved in the John F. Kennedy
Yeah, but
shooting.
I don't think they'd actually be firing a gun. If they can control space and time and space, I think they have a more interesting way they could take care of it versus...
Yeah, you definitely have a good point there. But remember, there's 3 key players in here that I think we need to think about and what they've said. One was Kash Patel, who said, I've read this stuff and there's nothing in there you want to see. Then there was the Secretary of State that said there's nothing to see. But I don't want the president to release it.
You mean, well, he didn't say there's nothing to see. He said, I don't want this information to come forward because it could shine a bad light or something to that extent. But, Mike Pompeo was just saying that, no, we don't want to bring it out. This could bring bad things against the government to a degree.
Yeah, that is true. But do you think, though, that there's a possibility that the one reason that they may be going with the JFK files first is, in fact, the CIA was involved So you kind of dirty up the CIA before you get to the UAP files, possibly. Then it doesn't look so bad. You've been exposed in one a bad deal, and the next one doesn't seem so bad. That's a possibility, I guess.
Yeah, but all that's going to come down to is going to go ahead and say, God, there's some damn good reasons why to shut this agency down. But then again, that's what Trump's been trying to do. Take different parts of the government that are running in contrary to what the United States mission is. And if they are pulling all these different backroom deals and other things going on, and it's all dirty, clean house.
Yeah, I think, though, any way you cut it, the CIA is not going to look good by the time all this stuff comes out. It's stuff they've been hiding from us for years. The JFK files were supposed to have been released 25 years after the event. And I remember when it occurred, watching television and them saying there's going to be a lot more coming out, but the president has sealed these for 25 years. Now it's been, 50 plus years. So
yep. And when Trump saw it, he gave it to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden then said, you know what? We're going to lock this away forever. We're not going to give anybody a chance to go ahead and see this. And at least now we've got the next president coming in saying, bullshit, we're going to give it to everybody.
And the last thing I'll say is what I said in the chat before we started. I think it'll be believable if we get pretty good confirmation from the investigators that everything was released and everything was unredacted.
Yeah.
Because all it's going to take is we're going to release it all except for one secret we don't want to tell you about. And if they hold something back, either through redaction or not submitting the document, we're always going to be suspicious that that was the bullet that we were looking for.
True, my friend, true. I can't wait for us all to go through this as time moves on. Talking about moving on, let's bring up Daryl Zernick. Daryl, what say you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it seems like this should be really good news, right? Because Anna Paulina Luna's committee was just announced on February 11th. So within about a month, we've already gotten through JFK. And on her list was RFK, MLK, Epstein, and UFOs, I think in that order. So in 4 months, we should have some disclosure.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. Maybe.
I mean, this is pretty rapid pace for the biggest secret in U.S. history.
One of the biggest secrets in U.S. history, but what we actually get yet, I don't believe in counting your chickens before they hatch. So we'll have to see that.
Mike, my God, you did it again. You read my mind and took away what I was going to say. The whole don't count your chickens before they hatch. And actually, I had that. There was a neighbor who had a bunch of chickens. Who literally, she wrote the names on all the eggs of all the kids in the neighborhood. So if the chicks hatched, we know which egg it came from. None of the eggs hatched.
Yep, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm not saying I'm getting excited about it, but I am saying that this is like a glimmer of hope because they already moved through what is conventionally conceived as the biggest U.S. secret, the JFK assassination. So if they've gone through that within a month, I think that holds pretty good for getting to the UFO thing. And Anna Paulina Luna's got a burr up her saddle on this one, too, from being told that she can't come in by the general. I mean, it's, I think we're going to get some stuff, I hope. But I'm not counting my chickens.
I hope you're right, Daryl. We certainly hope so. We would love to see that happen, and we'll cover it every step of the way. If it is, if it isn't, we'll let the public know exactly what's going on. So,
and if big news comes out tomorrow, Mike, we'll be back, or Wednesday.
Yep.
You never know. We talk about when news happens, we'll jump in for the cycle and run for it.
But because of the amount of the documents that are going to drop late tomorrow afternoon, I don't think we'll get answers that day of what's in there.
Well, we're going to start getting people on Twitter. We have Gunhamson on an elephant. He got the idea about 2 midgets on an elephant. If things happen and we start getting there and there's stuff pointing back towards UAP, yeah, of course we'll be there.
Not even UAP. If it points into the CIA assassinating a sitting president, we'll be there for that as well. We'll see what they find. We'll see what they get. Either way, that's the point.
Oh,
it may take a couple.
If that comes down and they figure that out, You know what the next thing's going to happen, right?
Oh, the shit's going to hit the fan.
Oh, no, locking up James Comey.
Oh, they'd have to prove that he knew about that.
You'll see. Give us some time.
Okay. All right.
Oh, my. Yes, we'll see where this all goes. All right, so we've talked about this for a bit. Yes, we're going to talk about drones now. And here's the thing. Before we start getting into this short segment that came off of 60 Minutes, and they talked about the situation. First thing I want to talk about is we have two different types of drones that were coming over the United States. One, we covered it right when it happened. When you had all the drones having incursions coming into Langley Air Force Base. We covered it then, before Ross. Right, Mike?
Right. That's right. We did.
And that was different. Now, when they brought it in, they tried to shoot these things down with their their eco packs, their Ghostbusters setups that they had, just like they had on the West Coast in the Channel Islands when they tried to bring it down from the USS Russell. And they had those pyramid-shaped UFOs coming over the ship, right? The gear didn't work there. And guess what? The gear didn't work again in Langley Air Force Base, right?
Yeah.
You know, go figure. You know what this sounds like? We could say that what happened over Langley or over our nuclear power plants or over our different nuclear bases, all the stuff, we could call it out and say it's UFOs. But the truth of the matter is, we have our government and our military contractors have overstated the capabilities of their anti-drone technology. And we have a simple breakthrough in what our accepted method is to go ahead and bring these things down with versus the reality of what's flying around in these areas and coming back. Now, it was interesting that the drones specifically over Langley, they didn't show up on radar, right?
Right.
Two, they were unable to go ahead and try and bring these things down, which means A, you have a technology that's stealth that our radars can pick up, right? And B, it's hardened, meaning that if you've got a microwave pack technology you're trying to shoot on this thing, it has more than enough shielding, right, to go ahead and prevent these guns, these microwave guns, from bringing the technology down. Now, having something in both of those respects, right?
Yeah.
Does not, meaning I've got something that we can't bring down. We've got something that can show up on radar. That doesn't mean that what we're talking about is a non-human intelligence. All it means is that our military-industrial complex has been outdone by our adversary, right?
Potentially, that's exactly what it could mean.
It's not like we had objects coming in at 14,000 miles an hour, coming to a complete stop over Langley Air Force Base, doing some different observations while remaining completely stationary, and then shooting out of there with instantaneous acceleration. Did we have that?
No recorded signs of information about that.
Right. So those are the Langley drones. Now, on the East Coast, we had too many nights to count. Yep. We started covering it right after it happened, before Ross Coulthart, before anybody else did. We saw the drones coming in nightly in formation, going and moving in a regular method like they're searching a grid pattern. Now, our disclosure on this one, total bullshit on that, from that matter, from the Trump administration. they talked about saying, oh, the FAA knew about these things, right, Mike?
Well, that was the official explanation.
That was the
coming from
official
the current
answer.
administration.
But
Right.
what was going on over Langley and what was going over New Jersey are two completely different types of craft, right?
Well, we don't have hard information on either of those events.
Well,
so-
behavior-wise, what was going over Langley, these things were coming in over the water, going by Langley, checking the stuff out, and leaving over the water. What we saw coming out on the East Coast was a completely different kind of a craft, was coming in, moving back and forth in grid patterns, and we saw plenty of videos and photos of those craft.
We did. But we also know that the drones over New Jersey were coming in off the ocean.
Right.
We had a firsthand witness that explained it to us when they saw this. And we also know that the Coast Guard cutter that was chased was on the ocean, where these drones were coming in from. So that's been confirmed.
Right.
We covered this. So
Well, I know.
you're right about that.
So we have two different types of incursions, one coming over the military bases, and then we have the ones coming over over New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, down in Virginia. They were even in Massachusetts. They were all over the place, right?
That's right.
And they were coming in every night, and they were going back. So we had the stuff going for a period of time that was going back and forth over the area. And Mike, it looked like they were really looking for something. And all the information that's come out from Anna Polina Luna and others is that even, Nancy Mace, we love Nancy, don't you, Mike?
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, gotta love Nancy. Anyway, all of them are saying it's our stuff. And I'll believe the stuff that was going on, because that was the main thing that kind of popped off, Mike, as we're looking at all this, was the regular behavior, the way our government is acting like we don't know what's going on. We don't see the stuff. We don't know what's going on, but everybody else is seeing it. Seems like a classic disinformation campaign.
We need more data. We need more information from the government about what might have happened.
But Mike, that's like going to the Catholic Church to find them and say we need more information to verify the abuse against all these boys. We're never going to get it. We have to go from the information to the general public and what the sightings had seen.
Well, so far, that's all we have. Hopefully, this administration, if they really are pushing for truth and transparency, if we get the Kennedy files and there's something legitimate there, like a needle in a haystack, and we get some of the disclosure files and get some confirmation on things that we've known for a long time, then there's a possibility that at one point we then may get more information on these drones. That I would very much like to see. It would answer a lot of questions that we have out there.
And it comes down to, we can look at the stuff that's going on out there. We had two different types of incursions, one over a military base, the other one going over the public. One over the military base looked like they were trying to figure out what we had going at that particular base. The one that was coming over the homeland, if you want to call it, seemed to be like they were trying to search for something like dirty nuclear material or something to that degree, to try and find something to prevent, a terrorist action within the United States.
It's all a distinct possibility, but until we get confirmation one way or the other, we're not really going to know.
We're not going to know.
That's the problem.
If we can, Tia, you have your hand up, and then Tia, and then Nick, and then Ashes and Alice. Let's go through this.
So I think that with Luna wanting to go to the site, if she were to go there with investigators with the technology that we have today and do a reenactment of the crime and the crime scene, I think that would answer a lot of questions, and it would put to bed a lot of conspiracy theories also, because I mean, they got a lot of shit now, and a lot of stuff that they didn't have back then. And I think there would be no doubt of where it came from and how it was fired and what was used and where he was standing and how many.
I think a lot of that stuff could actually be figured out in pretty virtual reality to a degree, but hopefully if they don't have to go down to to the site to figure out what actually happened, and they can just get the information, bring it out, it's better that there's no more delays, right? Tia, we've been waiting long enough.
Yeah, but she can do that while it's being done. I mean, I'm talking to put it to bed. That way there is no more conspiracy on how many shooters and, all that. They'll know for sure. And whatever they had back in 63 or whatever, or when he was shot and killed, we are in like a totally different world with technology today than we were back then. So it makes sense to me why she'd want to go down there. And I think it should have been done a long time ago, to be honest.
Yeah. Great points. I appreciate that. Any thoughts from your side, Mike? Or should we move on to Nick?
Well, number one, I want to say it's nice to have Nikki join us on the show. I was surprised when I saw him come in.
No, it's Nick, not Nikki's later on, but yeah.
Yeah. It's X1. It's nice to see him come in.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as multiple shooters, she already dropped a hint that they know it's multiple shooters that were involved with this, and now we're going to get the evidence. So we know that much so far, and now we're going to get corroboration of that. Once that is coming out as a fact, then anything that has been public knowledge about the assassination up until this point, that magic bullet theory, that goes out the window.
Yeah.
That story that's been told from the government is right down the toilet. So that'll be interesting to see, because then that opens up a whole other can of worms as far as what actually happened. I can't wait to see that, if in fact that's where it goes. And it may very well go there, because she said publicly multiple shooters. So yeah, I want to see them open that door. It'll be an interesting one to walk through.
Yep, absolutely. Let's move on next to Ashes. Ashes, what say you?
I think Nick might have had a question before me. I think he put his hand down. I'm
Nick,
not sure.
you had your hand up for a while, my friend?
Yes. Have you seen that one clip that Ross posted, I think yesterday, a few days ago, about Elon Musk? Have you seen that clip, Thomas?
I have not seen that clip.
Be a little bit more specific, Nick.
Like, he basically said that I guess Elon Musk already knows. I have sources inside the intelligence community who basically told me, yes, Elon has been briefed on the program, and he knows what's going on, so on and so on.
Oh, you mean the story that Ross Coltalk put out there a couple of days ago? We saw that. Yeah, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the Kennedy files coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just something that's interesting. And you know what? If he knows the information, Mike, that we talked about it before, just to address this, he has a good reason, because he understands the penalties if he discloses this information in a non-top secret setting. He can't. But you know what? If Ross Colhart is going and, trying to throw the ruler against Elon Musk for what he should or shouldn't discuss or disclose, shouldn't Ross go ahead and bring out the information about that giant UFO that they had to build a building on somewhere in Australia?
Yeah, but he's already publicly stated that he wouldn't do that because it would violate national security for not just the United States, but the foreign ally that is.
So what's the difference of of Elon Musk acknowledging this information? Wouldn't that be a breach of national security as well?
It would be.
Yeah.
If it's not declassified. Yeah.
Yeah, what's good for the goose is
apparently in Australia, Thomas. People have been saying.
Well, we've been talking about this for a while. Rick pointed to being in Australia, but near Pine Gap, I believe.
It was Alice Springs, northern area, another northern territory, and we talking about this a fucking year ago.
Yeah.
So we were on top of that before anybody was aware. A lot of people that were initially looking when Ross first blurted this out, they were in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that this had taken place on the Asian continent.
Yeah,
and
they thought it
Thomas
was
and
in
I-
They thought it was in South Korea.
Right. And Thomas and I were like, no, this seems like it's leading towards Australia, which is where Ross is from.
Mm-hmm.
And he has contacts within the Australian government. So that made more sense than the Asian continent in Korea.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Ashes next. Ashes?
Okay, so going back to my poetic justice about JFK, I had to write this down because I have a million things going on in my brain. But I got to pull out my recent handbook for the recently deceased here. Okay, so JFK once vowed to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter to the winds a dark filling twist. Golden Boy of Camelot, felled not by lone gunmen, but by the very mysteries he dared to unravel. His death, a final enigmatic stanza in a ballad of power, curiosity, and the unknown. So he didn't trust the CIA due to the mishandling of the Bay of Pigs. And I know that sounds fancy, but the Bay of Pigs was to overthrow Fidel Castro, and they failed. The CIA was made in 1947. It was supposed to be temporary, but they stayed because of the Cold War, and they were instrumental for espionage and covert ops. So my question is, why do we still keep them on? Because originally they were they didn't really get vetted like we do today. They were a group of people that kind of met up together in Washington, D.C. and turned into this three-letter agency. So Mike, do you have any words on that?
Well, there's a lot of different theories about what was going on at that time with the Kennedy administration, not the least of which is the military-industrial complex wanted us to go hard and heavy into Southeast Asia, into Vietnam. And Kennedy was dead set against it. He did not want to be. As a matter of fact, he was making plans to pull out of Vietnam with the advisors, the military advisors we had there at that time. But what happened is Kennedy wanted out. Kennedy was going to pull out, but the Joint Chiefs of Staff didn't want that. His vice president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, didn't want that because he was also in bed with the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower did his farewell speech and warned us all about. Kennedy was hip to it. And Kennedy wanted to dismantle the CIA because they're the ones that deal with foreign nations. And they were pushing for him to go in hard into Vietnam. And he didn't like that idea. Allen Dulles, who was in charge of the CIA, was forced to resign. And then he ended up on November 22nd, 1963, with a bullet in his head, or several bullets. And we ended up going into Vietnam just like the deep state wanted us to. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is that we were in the height of the Cold War with Russia. We also were in the height of the space race with Russia. That was beating us bad from the beginning. Kennedy was in secret backroom talks with Khrushchev because what he initially also wanted to do is work with the Soviets on the space program and jointly get us and them to the moon. This is back in 1962. So the people in our military in this country did not want us palling around with the Soviets, didn't want any type of an alliance like that. They just wanted things to be the way that it was after the Second World War. Kennedy threatened that. Kennedy threatened, they referred to him as the college boy. They didn't like his politics. They didn't like his plans for this country. It was too radical at the time. they just came out of a major world war, and their mindset was not as progressive as Kennedy's was at the time. Between that, the UAP instances that we know now with what's come out after all these years, that we were aware of UAP existence from 47 or earlier, which means the Soviets were aware of UAP existence and earlier. So at that point, there was something that they wanted to be covered up. And if Kennedy was a threat to reveal any of that to publicly or work with the Russians on it, he signed his own death warrant. And it seems like that's exactly how it played out according to history. When these documents are finally released tomorrow and we're able to dig through all of it for those needles in the haystack, we're going to either get confirmation or denials if any of those things were true. I can't wait. We've been dealing with this over 60 years, and we may have a chance at getting actual answers to all of those questions that I just went over. So it's going to be interesting times. That's my opinion on this.
Now, one thing coming into this, Mike, though, is if you look at this, we could be seeing actually, hold on.
It could be good.
Mike can't hear this, but everyone else in the audience could. Mike, if you look at this particular situation we're going through, with what's going to come out tomorrow, it could show that there are a lot of programs that we're going through, quote unquote, USAID, that are clear shills for the CIA and other programs like this to go ahead and cover up this kind of horrible travesties that go back in the United States history. If they talk about Vietnam, talk about the things the CIA was doing there as was going on. What they don't talk about is the CIA going into Cambodia, destabilizing the government. So the current king of, if you want to call it, Cambodia pulls out, and then allowing Pol Pot to go ahead and go in, and then we have a genocide of millions of people going on. Yes, the CIA has not been up to good things for too many years to count, and if we can show how dirty they were, and this is that little bit of access to get into it, I'm up for it.
Well, if this comes out to be proven and confirmed, I have a feeling that the CIA, because of all that dirty work, may be on the chopping block for Trump and may cease to be as a viable organization moving forward because of that history that they have, all the blood on their hands.
Yeah.
And besides, didn't David Grush publicly testify at the UAP hearing and say that this cover-up goes so far, so deep, and so wide that he knows for a fact that people have been murdered in cold blood to keep it a secret?
Yeah.
So, and we know the CIA was directly involved in activities like that. So if this starts to come out, it's going to affect, I think, in a major way, an organization like the CIA. And we'll see. It's interesting times that I think we're living in right now with this information going to be released. And if we get any of the things that we're hoping for, that could finally establish beyond a shadow of a doubt that all of these actions had occurred in history, and we can prove that, it's going to change things in a large way. And especially as far as the deep state, that word is used a lot. The CIA is at the heart of the deep state, obviously. And we have people like journalists like Ross Coulthart and Christopher Sharp and people who have done research into this with sources and have shown and proven that the CIA most definitely has had their hands on various things, especially in regards to UAP, crash retrieval programs, reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Once this starts to come out, it's going to change the landscape, which is what we all want and have wanted for decades now. So we might actually be at a point, maybe at a point where we start to actually see that play out in real time.
You got Alice and then Nikki X1 have their hands up, and we haven't even gotten to the short video clip coming to us from 60 Minutes Overtime.
Oh, that's another good one.
Well, I've got 38
Talk a lot
seconds,
about
which is
that.
better than nothing. So,
We could fill in the blanks. It was a good video.
Alice, go ahead.
Hey, Thomas, I put my hand up when we were talking about the drones. Do you mind if I make a short comment?
No, Alice, go right ahead.
Thank you. If they are ours, and so many people have seen them already, and I think we have pictures of them, then why don't they bring one out and show it to us? That would just prove to everybody that they're ours.
Well, potentially, if it's an advanced drone technology, they don't want our adversaries to. That has all these additional hardening and capabilities that goes along with it. There may be a reason why they're not showing it to us.
But haven't so many people already seen them?
Yeah, and they look like.
They look like fixed wing craft, right, Thomas?
But they're not.
But they're not. Exactly.
That was all.
Awesome. Great point. Nikki Swan. Nikki, how the hell are you? Long time no see. Thanks for calling in. Nikki.
Mute button's on, Nikki. He may be away from keyboard.
It's been a while.
From back in the day. Yeah, it could be.
Am I on mute?
No, you're not on mute now. We got you, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay, you couldn't hear me earlier?
We couldn't hear you a minute ago, no.
Okay, it's a pleasure to see you again, and I've gone through a lot of changes, and I miss you, Thomas, and I miss all my friends that remember me, and it's a pleasure to be on again.
Good to see you again, Nikki. Nice to have you here again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I quit trucking, and I started 2 companies, and I've just been going through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the drone stuff goes, I may have something very special for you. It happens every night at around 9:30, and I feel like it ties into this drone phenomena. Now, it's going to be another controversial footage once I sent it to you, because it's close to an airport, but it's going to have more questions than answers because it's near Scottsdale Air Park. But when I get the footage for you, I'll send it to you, and you'll see there's an area where these orbs or these drones pop up, disappear at around 9:30 every night. But I'll get that for you later.
Yeah, let's work on that offline, my friend. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'll definitely send it to you. But I just wanted to say hi. I did a lot. I still have a lot of extra footage that I haven't shared with anybody. I've had a couple of new paranormal experiences that are really good. And I got some interesting stories since I got out of the truck. I mean, it's been real.
Well, let's catch up and see where it goes, my friend. Because don't forget, you're not that far from Sentinel, Arizona, where all the magic happened for you.
Yeah, not that far from Sentinel. And I don't know, some of your audience members might find it interesting that when I got out of trucking, I started my own logistics company.
Yeah.
I also started another beverage company. It's called Illuminati.
Yeah.
And it's a play on words between nautical and illuminate. So it's Illuminati NAUTI. And it's a canned water. Yep. And if anybody's in the Scottsdale area, I am also Black Diamond Rides. If you want to pause the video later, that's me. That is the Eye of Providence. And I also became a Freemason.
Oh, wow.
And I'm actually studying right now. Yeah.
Very cool, my
lots
friend.
of new stuff going.
Appreciate it. Let's catch up after the show.
I love you, Thomas. Thank you,
Love you too,
everybody.
my
I'm
friend.
so glad.
Let's talk again soon.
I just wanted to catch up.
Absolutely. Let's get to this.
Stick around in the back chat, Nikki.
Yeah.
After the show.
Now, we do actually have here, Mike, I do have a clip here to go ahead and play from 60 Minutes from last night. Let me go ahead and find this one and bring it up. Here we go. Former Joint Commander of NORAD and U.S. Northcom acknowledges that the failed attempts to take down mysterious drones over Langley Air Force Base in 2023. And Mike, this is what I have to say with regards to their failed attempts to bring it down.
Yeah.
They had technology that was years old at this point in time. They thought it could work to bring down drones based on the specs of what it was. But you have technology sometimes in the private or government sectors moves way far ahead of where we are in the private sector. I think, honestly, that's what we're dealing with is a technology, at least over Langley. Not a UFO, because if a UFO wanted to get in there, they'd be moving 14, 20,000 miles an hour, do their observations, remain in the air with no winds aloft, completely isolated, and then when they're done, they just shoot out of there, and they're not there. What we were seeing over a lot of our military bases is probably an advancement of human technology where we've just been riding on the laurels and believing the specifications of what our military industrial complex is selling us on for what or does not work to bring this stuff down. Let's listen to this little clip. Here we go.
It seems that this is significant enough that you might want to take extraordinary measures.
Absolutely, you can do that. You put out what's called a notice to airmen to avoid a certain location during certain hours because of potential interference.
Now, really quick, if you remember, Mike, with the stuff that was going on at Langley, they actually shut down full operations at Langley, and they had to go ahead and move their fighter jets from Langley to the Oceana base,
in
correct?
Virginia Beach. Yeah, they've
Yes.
got everything the fuck out of there. They evacuated their assets. F-22s, F-35s.
Everything.
They didn't want to take a chance because they didn't know what the hell it was or what was going on. That's very revealing.
Yeah, it is. Now, with that note in mind, let me rewind it a couple seconds. Let's play more.
Because of potential interference. There was the attempt to jam them at Langley with approval and coordination of FAA using some NASA assets and some other assets that I believe were provided by the Coast Guard, but with very limited success.
So when you say...
You know what the sad part about this, Mike, is? The amount of editing that 60 Minutes is doing. Just listen how they cut this stuff together. Watch.
And coordination of FAA using some NASA assets and some other assets that I believe were provided by the Coast Guard, but with very limited success.
That whole thing where they said with very limited success, that's a clear edit, Mike.
Yeah, it was chopped up.
Chopped up completely. So we're getting information coming out of former people in the military, right? However, we're getting that same 60 Minutes. And if you watch some of the way the editing went on with the interviews with Kamala Harris during the campaign and what was going on, I can't trust 60 Minutes in what is currently being presented here. I think in order for me to buy into what we're hearing, we need to hear the full unscripted, unedited conversation.
Yeah, and I thought that this clip that they were building up and promoting before they aired it would be longer than 6 minutes that they put out there. I was surprised at the short duration.
Yeah. But again, it's highly edited. They're trying to put out a dialogue, not saying that 60 Minutes would try and do something positive for the government. Either way, it's edited together. And you just have to take, it's not like you get an interview like you used to get. Now they edit it for brevity. And just the expression on this schmuck's face says everything, Mike.
No, you're right. Those are very good points, Thomas. I agree with what you're saying.
Let's play the last 8 seconds.
So when you say limited success, what success did they have?
I'm not aware of any success that they had.
Now, again, cut right to that. Did he say something before that? Or was that just an edit from him coming to that point? Granted, it was very poignantly answered to the question, but if someone is trying to give you a bunch of preface ahead of time and they cut it.
Yeah, that's suspicious. Why would they cut it? They shouldn't.
Yeah, but they do.
Yeah, but they did, which is strange to say the least.
Yeah. 60 manipulated minutes is what our audience is calling it right now.
The audience makes a good point. Yeah, they're still covering this shit up. I don't know why.
Right.
We're going to have to get more information.
But they're covering it up. But then again, you've got the people out there like Matt Ford who are calling everything Orange Man bad and finding ways to go ahead and just shit on the administration for what the information that hasn't come out yet. All I have to say is, why wasn't he such a big mouth for the last 4 plus years of the Biden administration? Oh, that's right. He was getting paid by them, wasn't he? From what was it? StandForBetter.org.
Yeah, it's called partisan politics.
Yeah.
And if he claims to be a journalist, then there should be no partisan politics, no political bias.
But he doesn't call himself a journalist. He's just an entertainer, no more than we are.
Well, he claims to be a journalist. He wrote the article, if you remember, with Chris Sharp. They covered the Office of Global Access. So he wears different hats and takes them on and off as needed.
Yeah.
So it depends on where he stands for the day. But an actual journalist is impartial and unbiased and covers all sides.
Right.
Like we do.
And considering he's in an organization that wants to deal with DC, going ahead and taking these opportunities to give jabs into the Trump administration, where is that going to put the UAPDF, Mike? It sounds like it's going to be putting them in a really shitty place, coming from some spur-of-the-moment jabs that he can get into the Trump administration because he's a true blue Dem. I wish him the best of luck, but it doesn't look good, Mike.
Well, look, you cannot survive politically in Washington when you have the Republicans that are controlling all of the Congress and the White House. And if you're going to play partisan politics and you're on the losing end of that, you're not going to accomplish anything. He should have enough common sense to know that, but it doesn't seem like he does.
Sounds like his fat head getting in the way, Mike.
Something like that.
Ed Brown, your hand is up, my friend. Go ahead.
I want to put a little perspective in this. It was many years ago, but I flew fighters out of Langley Air Force Base and flew air defense and protection of the East Coast. And I can tell you, back when I was there, that would have been considered an act of war to actually make those fighters inoperable to be able to be operated for that period of time. So I think we have to take the bottom line from what the commander said. They were unsuccessful in bringing anything down, and they ended up having to move out of Langley. I'm not sure how much worse it could have been for the Air Force perspective at that particular time.
Well, let's shut the base.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Well, isn't Langley Field the CIA's if you want to call it, base of operations? I know the Air Force is there, but Langley is more than anything. That's a CIA.
That's Langley, Virginia. That's different from Langley.
The location of Langley, Virginia is where the CIA is located. That's not Langley Air Force Base.
I was wrong. Sorry.
Langley Air Force Base. But when you see the building, the big CIA building, that's Langley, Virginia. But I think it's significant that they, and now, come back and say we couldn't bring any of them down. I disagree with you, Thomas, on the idea that it's advanced technology. And several people have commented on this too. I don't believe our advanced technology would ever be used to try to prove that they could do something hidden like that in front
Langley, I've never said what was going over Langley is our own technology. I've said this stuff that was going on over New Jersey. That was our technology. The stuff that was going over Langley is likely a adversary.
Yeah, well, I don't even think it's an adversary.
And I don't think it's NHI, because if it was NHI, based on the video capabilities I've seen or on the video footage I've seen them behaving, they can move at 14,000 miles an hour easily, stop on a dime, go in a place. Why would you have them coming in and moving out like it's a regular human drone? And don't tell me it's because they want to fake us out. If they want to fake us out, they'll be coming in at 14,000 miles an hour, doing their observations and shooting out of there instantly.
That's possible. But if you say adversary, meaning Russia or China or something, in that category, another nation state, that is clearly an act of war.
Yeah, of course it would be. But if we've been stupid in how we've been handling it, and we've been looking the other way for all these years and all this stuff going on, and we're not even allowed to try and actually take some traditional projectiles and shoot this stuff down, then of course, the more times they do it, the more brazen their acts will get. And if they've been having this unfettered for 20, 30, 40 years and we haven't done anything to stop them, then...
Well, that may be true. And the thing that would support that argument is the balloon flying past all of our sensitive areas till it got to the East Coast, and they finally shot it down, 4 or 5 days after collecting data over the United States. And then telling us that they didn't get anything important because we were blocking them the whole time.
And then saying it was nothing, and it came out recently that this thing was actually dropping little drones that were going and flying around and gathering more telemetry and more information with regards to what was going on the ground.
Well, it's definitely a puzzle. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, great conversation, Ed. Thank you for bringing that up. I knew you would.
always there for you, Thomas. You too, Mike.
Oh, I appreciate that, Ed. And you're right about it being an act of war. I understand that the drones over New Jersey, when the police helicopters were tracing these things, and the Coast Guard gunship, the cutter that was out there, that was surrounded by 30 of them, they did say something about that their radar was being actively jammed. That is an act of war by any foreign nation. That's especially over the continental U.S. If they're jamming us, that's absolutely an act of war. It's also a violation of national security, and I have no idea why the government wasn't acknowledging the national security violations that these constitute, these incursions, but they haven't. We have, but not a word from them about that. So good point, Ed. I agree.
We had those a battle group going over on the East Coast of the United States, and they had 2 giant orbs the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, right? Plasma objects that were following along with the ships and going over the ships and making their movements known over several nights. Now that's a UAP. Having stuff that's just coming in and we can't stop it and we can't bring it down, we can't intercept it, we can't see the radar and leaving out. And it's just moving at a normal pace, has more of a look of a drone than something that's exotic. I just have to say, Mike, if it smells like a human, stinks like a human, and echoes like a human, it's probably a human.
Yeah, but at this time, we don't have any information to indicate one way or the other where they came from, who was operating them, and what they were doing here.
Right, but what we're not seeing is any of these drones going ahead and exhibiting any of the 5 observables. I guess now it's 6, but not any of them. None. And if it was that case, and if it wasn't a non-human intelligence, just think about the stuff we saw flying around in Puerto Rico and Aguadilla. You know what I mean? Or the different places we've had great footage. The stuff we saw over Malta. That's a UFO. What we're seeing here going over Langley, what we saw over the East Coast, that looks more terrestrial and human-based, made than anything. Until we see evidence of otherwise, there's no way you can go ahead and convince me with the evidence we have now that what we saw over the East Coast or over Langley was not human-based.
I agree with the points that you're making. But to Ed's point, he was saying that the activities that were exhibited during both of those times were considered to be acts of war.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Even the thing we had going with the Tic Tac when we tried to get radar and it got jammed and it didn't get a signal back. Yeah, that's, we call it technically an act of war. We can call it an act of war once we start acting on it like it is an act of war. If we're just going to ignore it and say, okay, you're just making this stuff up, we're not going to believe you. We're just going to ignore that. Then what should be an act of war is no longer an act of war. And that's what you need to have. If there is a hard, fast definition of someone who is going against us and it is an act of war, then we need to call it out whenever it happens and take the appropriate actions at that time, not just lazily call it out an act of war afterward.
Right. But you have to understand, when we were covering this live here over the East Coast, over Jersey, they were actively shutting down civilian international
yes, we know
airports. That's an act of war. I don't care who it is. It's an act of war.
Or it's a stupid mistake of something that's been going on, but either way, it brings up the 4 letters FAFO. Fuck around and find out. And that's how we should be handling it. We need to stop, being a frickin' pansy. Stop worrying about the flowers. Get on the lawnmower, drop the housing down on the blades, kick it on, and drive right through that border and just blow through all the pansies.
Well, Trump, during his campaign, addressed this when we were covering it. And he said that if it's not ours, whatever's in our skies, they need to blow it the fuck out of the sky. Yeah. He's right.
Yeah.
That's the right approach.
Well, we haven't gotten the answer what we've wanted. There's been a finger pointing back that it was ours. Not quite the answer we wanted to get, but all the answers that came back saying it was our own blue forces that were flying around in the airs. Granted, they went and said it was the FAA, knew about it, different things, but either way, it sounded like they had an idea, and they have a good idea that it's truly was our drones, at least with regards to New Jersey and the East Coast. And I wouldn't doubt that any of those drones were out there looking for potentially loose nuclear material or something to that extent. We talked about it back then.
We did, but here's the problem that I see. After it came out that this administration had stated that these drones were authorized by the FAA, other journalists out there had reached out to the FAA currently, and the response has been that they haven't confirmed that statement.
Right, right. So it made about the FAA. So the answer we got was bullshit, but it sounds like there's something more behind it in the background. We'll see where it goes.
Oh, there is absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've been covering this. We know there's a lot more behind this than meets the eye.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Good points. Sergeant Daniel, your hand is up. Last hand of the evening.
All right. Yeah. So as far as this tech, let's just say it's China. Let's say it's Russia. First of all, Russia would have used it already. But you're talking about the most valuable pieces of equipment that known to man. You know, these things, we couldn't see them on radar. They had no heat signature. They couldn't shoot them down. So riding around.
Which ones are you talking about, New Jersey or Langley?
Yeah, sure. Any of the ones that went over the military bases.
Right.
Langley. Those generals, those admirals, they have the ability to.
But they've been flying over our military bases for years, and our military has acted completely motionless, like they can't do anything to bring them down.
I think if they could have shot one down, a general with making a name for himself would have tried to.
Just go ahead, then bring out some conventional ordinances and shoot them down. If your little special microwave backpacks don't work that you got from a military contractor, you know what? I would say we should go back to the manufacturers of these Ghostbusters packs and go ahead and tell them we want our fucking money back because their shit didn't work.
Oh, I think I think Ed was saying, it is an act of war, and it would be very easy to figure out who it was if we dropped one. But we didn't drop one. None of them crashed. You have 30 of them flying around. No sign of any. Again,
you have to keep the military base stuff over like Langley You got to keep it.
related.
No, it's not. You've got to keep the two things separate.
Well, I think that if the stuff that was overlaying Lee,
Daniel, it's two different types of craft, two different types of behaviors, two different types of what's going on. And you can throw it all in the same bucket. And look, it's a bunch of drones, and it's all aliens, and they're coming here, and they're pretending that they're humans.
I think that those things were up there. They've been trying to take them down, but I also think that we had our own drones up there, the ones that look like airplanes and stuff like that.
That was the New Jersey drone piece, absolutely.
But I also think that was our attempt to probably try to take them down or observe them and figure out.
No,
what
here's the thing: if it was our drones that were flying over the East Coast, right? And the military gave the civilians some backpacks to go ahead and shoot and bring this stuff down. But remember, those backpacks only had the ability to go ahead and bring down Tier 1 and Tier 2 drones, which are civilian drones like any consumer can go and buy at Walmart or Amazon or anywhere online from DJI, direct from China. And that's all it could handle. It was not set to go ahead and handle any technology that's of a military grade. So were you surprised that technology couldn't bring shit down? I wasn't.
No, I think whatever's riding over our airspace with impunity, I mean, they got some balls, but they also have a lot of money. I mean, really, that we're talking, like I said, the best tech that you can imagine. You're not talking about just stealth. You're talking about active radar jamming. I mean, you're talking about a lot of things. And who's to say they really, they didn't try to shoot them down. They just couldn't lock on them,
We haven't.
They haven't said whether they have or not.
No, we have not. We have not tried to use any conventional methods for bringing these down because it's not permitted under whatever guidance that our military is following. I'm saying bring out the weapons, bring out the machine guns, bring out whatever they need to, bring out the freaking Iron Dome and bring this shit down.
I think if they would have had a chance over the military bases, I think one of the generals would have had them firing at it.
No, they haven't. They haven't. It is the policy of the Air Force, of the Army, of all of our different bases that we do not use any conventional methods for bringing any drone incursions down. Period. That's what our government follows at this time.
It would endanger the civilian population around the military bases. So they cannot shoot something down over the continental U.S. without presidential order.
Right.
Authorization.
So we need the presidential authorization, Mike. If these things are going on and this is simply a operation from our adversaries, we need to bring this shit down no matter what the cost is. Why are we letting this stuff go on without impunity? Why are we acting like we're so crippled?
For so long.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the other point about all this.
Well, then again, we did let how many 19 million people come across our border and just welcome them all in versus actually doing what we needed to do?
Well, that's
is that the same thing we're doing with these drones? It sure as heck sounds like it. We're just we're looking the other way.
The thing that never made any sense to me about this is that it wasn't a one-off. It wasn't one drone.
No, it's been going on for 20 plus years, Mike. Over all of our bases, it's over nuclear power plants. It's all over the place. We're letting these things come in. Now, some of the stuff is definitely UFOs, but some of the stuff, it's humanity. If it behaves like a human and acts like it's within our current technology or advanced technology, then there's a damn good chance what we're dealing with is human. And you know what? Let's find out who those humans are and lock them up. Let's bring those craft down and do whatever we need to do to bring those craft down.
Well, speaking of which, I have a question for Ed. The Coast Guard cutter that is armed, to my knowledge, with Browning 50 caliber anti-aircraft machine guns, when that captain of that vessel was surrounded by 30 of these drones and was chased out of the patrol area, if he felt that his ship was in danger, is he authorized to use those conventional weapons to take these objects down to protect his vessel?
It would depend on if there was a pre-agreed rules of engagement for that theater area of operation. If tensions were building up, DOD would probably tell him, use whatever force is necessary to protect yourself.
But those things were in the air, and they followed his vessel, and they went around it, so it's not like they were attacking his ship, Mike.
But they did force that ship to retreat and leave the designated patrol area. So did he have authorization if he felt his vessel was in danger, that he could have gone weapons hot?
He did not.
I'm not sure we'll ever know for sure. I mean, not knowing what the ROE was for that theater, but let's carry it a step farther. If you look at the Navy ships that are getting attacked by the Houthis in the Gulf area there, why are we not just absolutely destroying them because of that? We take pot shots at them, but we don't actually take them out.
Yeah, let's go ahead and create another parking lot, Ed?
Well, the nice thing is once you create the parking lot the first time, you don't have to do it the second time.
No, exactly.
That's true. No, I agree.
Don't
You're
save
right,
it, pave it.
I can tell you this. If I was aboard that vessel while this drone activity was going on, I would have had accidental discharges of the weapons on board multiple times. And I would have wrote it up as such. So I don't know why no one decided to take action, but obviously they did not. Could be with the rules of engagement. You make a good point, Ed.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and thank Nikki X1 for that super chat, Charles Kerr, and Ashes on Air. Thanks for all the love and support of everything we do here on Disclosure tonight, Mike. It's been one heck of a great show today. A lot of passionate conversation. Holy cow.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, great conversation. We covered a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Good topic, good conversation with everybody.
Yeah. And Mike, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, my back is killing me, and it's time for me to say goodnight.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. Y'all come back now here. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.